We're now going to talk about a couple active ways to signal for rescue utilizing items that are within the emergent seas of survivability. So one of these things is the compass. We know that the mirror on a compass is able to project a reflection up to 2 miles in direct sunlight. So as I utilize this, I can flash the camera there, and that is a pretty good indicator of need of rescue. Okay, now let's back this up a little bit and just see how great a distance this can work. So I'm going to walk out to 100 yards, and then I'm going to walk out to 200 yards, and we'll see just how well this still works. So that should give you a good idea of how well a simple compass mirror can actually work. Now another add-on to the compass, or mirrors in general for sighting, for rescue purposes. So you've seen in the old manuals how they'll hold up 2 fingers and then they'll direct the light from the mirror between the 2 fingers. And the premise of that is, so whatever you keep in between the 2 fingers, that's your gun sight, more or less. So I'm aiming between the 2 fingers, and then I just move the light up on my hand, and I'm able to flash it at whatever is there. So that tells you how that works. So if I'm signaling for a plane or something like that, I can hold up my 2 fingers, reflect the light so it goes up the gun sight, and then I just maintain the airplane in between the 2 fingers as long as I can, and continue flashing that light between the new gun sight that I've created. Now on a compass such as this, we can also use the bottom sight right here. So if I put my eye up there and then I just rotate until I get the sun effectively in there, then I can do the same type of thing, and I'm able to do a very similar signal pattern. So you just have to get, my sun's way over here right now, so obviously I need to turn in here, and then I'm able to adjust that here, and I can look right through this sight here and see exactly what I want to aim at. So again, that's another technique that you could try out and play with a little bit. You'll just have to get used to it in this regard here. So that's how we could utilize the mirror on a compass to signal for rescue. Obviously, we have headlamps. The headlamp that you select should ideally have a flash pattern for rescue, SOS flash pattern. So obviously daylight hours we're not going to see this very well, but you get the idea. Okay, the flash pattern will be automatic in a lot of the newer age headlamps. The battery life is your issue. So should you become truly lost, injured, or disoriented, you could actually put this on your head, just turn on the flash pattern and let it go. Okay, you just fall asleep, rest, do whatever you need to do, and let that pattern strobe throughout the evening. Alternatively, you could put it right above your head on a tree or on a stick, that way facing the most obvious path of travel. So if you're at a park and you're exhausted, you need to get some rest, night's coming upon you, you could put this flashing down the trail in that flash pattern, and as rescuers or passers-by may be going through, that will catch their eye and draw them in your direction. So these are what we would call active type of signaling devices. Obviously, if we take this and put it on a tree, it's technically now a passive one, because active requires our active participation for the signal to work. So mirrors are obviously very active. Strobes, okay? You can have strobes, you can put them on your vest, something that is active, okay? Something that requires our engagement. Flares, all these are types of active. Smoke generators, actives. Now, passive types of signaling are the clothing I'm wearing. This is a passive type of signal. I just wear it and I'm actively signaling, technically. So a passive signal is something that doesn't really require any intervention on your behalf. So if we put flagging devices up around our camp, hang flags in the air, something that the wind can wave and draw attention, because eyes are drawn to movement. And so if we see bright colors flapping in the wind, we're going to look over there, captures our attention. So that is a great type of passive signaling device. Again, the clothing I'm wearing, I would rather be a big lump of orange in the woods than a big lump of rainbow green, okay? So if I am in a true survival situation, I want brightly colored clothing and equipment. Even my compass has brightly colored paste beads on it. The reason you want bright colors is so that you do stand out and you are more readily identifiable amongst the greenery of the woodlands. Now, obviously there are times when that is not the best move, but this is for modern survival, and for our all intents and purposes of this course, we want to be rescued, we want to be found, we're trying to survive and get out of a situation. So in that line of thinking, brightly colored clothing and equipment, bright yellows, bright blues, bright oranges are all going to be your preferred colors on the spectrum of the color wheel. Now other types of passive signals would include stacked stones along the trail side. Directional indicators. Directional indicators are important because we can lay these things out on the ground. Simple sticks that point in arrows, and wherever we've gone, we can just lay very obvious directional indicators on the ground, like this one, and we can see that it's working on our behalf after it's been placed. We don't have to do anything more to something like this that is obviously not something that nature created. Somebody had to come by and put sticks in this arrow type fashion. Now, if you do them in a consistent series, it will enable people to understand that it is you that they're tracking. So, if I was to put 3 directional indicators in a row and use that consistently to denote turns, encampments, etc., and I build a pattern into my passive signaling system, then that's going to enable rescuers to follow me. So these are the breadcrumbs you're trying to leave along the trail. Other things you can do is you're getting ready to enter into the woods, or you don't have access to an obvious trail, is to break off a bunch of branches along the first tree as you entered into a trail to blaze your own way. To do that, you just simply break off several branches to where it's obvious to potential rescuers that something moved through this area. It is not a one and done situation. You notice I'm breaking a whole bunch because I want it to be very obvious that someone came through here. So anyone that sticks out toward me there, I'm going to go ahead and break them up. Like so. So once I've broken off a bunch of branches where it appears obvious that something's come through here, at my first opportunity, I'm going to either stack some stones right at the corner of the trail, or I'm going to do something to attract additional attention. And then as I go through to blaze my own trail, I'm bushwhacking, kicking, and making a big mess the whole way through where it looks like a herd of elephants went through the woods. Because again, we want to make it as easy as possible for rescuers to locate us should we truly need their assistance. Now, when we're talking about signaling for rescue in a survival situation, the smoke generator is one of the standard objects that you're going to find as a rescue signal. And that's because they've largely become very popular due to movies and things of that nature. They work very well, but they do not have to be up off the ground all the time. I have built several that worked, honestly, probably a little bit better on the ground. So if we would take our emergency fire lay, heap it up as we're going to boil water, so we got a nice big pile of sticks, and then we just cover it up completely with green living materials from trees and plants, we're going to get huge plumes of white smoke, and it's going to definitely attract attention. Now, here's the issue. A ground-based smoke generator will not punch through a low pressure system in the atmosphere. There are times when it's overcast, overly foggy. There are various issues. A ground-based generator doesn't suck enough air up into it to be able to heat the air above it well enough to get the smoke past the tree canopy. And that is something very important, because this will enable it to do just that. A smoke generator based on a tripod system will enable you to make full effect of that Venturi effect, where it sucks all that air from underneath and forces heat up into the atmosphere. And this is the type of thing that is very necessary, especially if you're trying to get well above the tree canopy. Now, colors of smoke are also important. If you're going to be utilizing green materials from trees and plants, well, you're going to get white smoke. White smoke on a day like I'm experiencing today, no cloud in the sky, clear blue, beautiful day. Now is the perfect time to utilize white smoke, because it is going to create such a dramatic contrast against the blue background. But if it was a cloudy or an overcast day, I would need black smoke. I need something to create color contrast with the surrounding environment. And to do that, I'm going to have to burn rubbers, plastics, things of that nature. This is the one time that we would tell you to burn a tire. If your life's on the line and you need rescuing, and you hear or you see or you're trying to attract attention of oncoming rescuers or passers-by or airplanes or whatever, bam, burn that tire, burn that plastic drum, burn that lawn furniture, whatever you find, burn that stuff and create that thick black smoke. Burn trash resources, trash, whatever, burn it all. If you're in a national park or anything like that and you're truly lost and you're truly in dire straits, lighting a large signal fire in that way will attract the attention of the rangers up in those fire towers as they go up and they do their daily surveys. So make sure that you pre-plan properly, you know when they're going to do their fire checks, and then you make a ruckus. You get a lot of smoke generated, but do your absolute best not to burn any of the surrounding environment. There was a person within the past several years that got lost in a forest in Alabama, and they knew to create smoke and to create fire as a way to signal for rescue. What they ended up doing is burning 250,000 some odd acres. Just burnt the entire forest down. And yeah, they got saved. He almost died from smoke inhalation and from burns, but he did get rescued eventually, and he almost died in the hospital because of it. So use good common sense, common fire safety, common camp safety, just like everything else, guys. This is not hard. Let's not make it any harder by complicating things, by creating wildland fires, etc. So my tripod here is just a very simple tripod. It's just something you throw together. This is not a cooking tripod. This is something you're going to burn. So why spend an exorbitant amount of time doing perfect lashes on it and making sure it's locked down and super tight and something that can be reused. It can't be reused because it's going to burn up. Now, if you're lucky and you use thick green sticks, now these are green cedar, they're living cedar, but they have been aging a little bit because I didn't want to go cut fresh trees. So these are still green, but they're going to burn up a little bit faster than normal. Whenever possible, use green wood. Make it as thick as your wrist. The reason you want to make it as thick as your wrist is to maximize the burn time. It's going to burn hotter, it's going to burn longer, and that wood will steam off as well, creating more smoke or steam in the air, which is what we're after. So, at least as tall as you is a good rule of thumb. You can make it as big as you want, but don't make it any shorter than you are tall. Then you need a central platform. These are just sticks I've cut and tied around the edge here. So, once we get our little platform here, what you need to do is then fill it in. So I'm going to take some slats off an old pallet and I'm just going to build a small platform here. This is where my fire is going to go. Once I have my fire lay in place, I'm going to stuff a bunch of green grass up here, and then I'm going to cover this thing completely in green tree boughs, and we're going to see how much smoke we can get. And because it is a raised smoke generator, based on the tripod, I've got some ground clearance, so I'm going to put it over here in the pond. That way I'm not increasing a risk of a wildland fire because it is late fall. Everything's dead and drying out. So I'm going to put it over the water to see how effective something like this can be. Now, general rule of thumb is you would do series of 3. Remember, a universal sign for rescue is series of 3. So 3 fires along the coastline, 3 fires along a ridge top, 3 gunshots, 3 whistles, 3 X's on the ground, or SOS, okay, written out. All these are different series of 3 patterns that pilots and rescuers are all trained to look for, listen for, and identify readily. And most adults, we all kind of know this. If you're an outdoorsman at all, you go hunting, you go fishing, these are common things. It's almost common knowledge among the outdoors community. If you hear something like that, you know, hey, there's probably a problem, and usually it's called in, or at least it's investigated. So, without much further ado, let's get this finished up, and then we'll get it lit. So I'm set up here over the water, and what I've done is I've completed a fire lay within the tripod. And then atop the fire lay, I have a really nice thick section of green grasses. And now what I want to do is be able to get this with a simple quick light. All right, so I'm going to put in 1 fire starter, and then I'm just going to use my lighter to ignite it. So I'm going to process this up. I'm going to put this inside the fire lay. The idea behind the fire lay is for ember transfers and things of that nature. So you want a proper fire lay so that all it takes is a good hot open flame quickly to get that ignited. So with the fire starter in there, I have a lot of this plant material and weed tops. Then of course, very small diameter sticks. That should be sufficient to get this going. Now, it's not going to generate smoke instantly. Obviously the fire has to ignite, become sustainable, and then it's going to begin emitting smoke. Now, because I have mostly smalls in here, what I'm going to be doing is making it go quite a bit faster. So if you want a longer burn time, have more fire built up inside, a lot more greenery packed in very tight around it, and then I'm going to prepare and start hanging my boughs around the edges here. So I'm just going to begin by placing these as close to the fire initially as I can. Just like that. You want to drape it. That way they burn, they heat up, and you're getting good coverage. I'm using the smaller branches to kind of hook it. So already in under 15 seconds, I've got that much smoke. Now the Venturi effect is taking place. You can see the jet of smoke coming out the top. That means it's getting good air exchange from the bottom, and it's forcing that heat up into the atmosphere. So the main reason you're not seeing a lot of smoke exchange at this point is because it's already burnt through the material on the entire back side. So because it burnt through the back side so quickly, that tells you that it is a good idea to watch for the prevailing winds. Now when I initially started building this, the winds weren't very calm. I had no air movement. But just within the past 30 minutes or so, I've started to have a prevailing wind which pushed the fire through the back, which has already burnt out all the greenery on that one side. So this is another valuable lesson and reason why it's important to have mounds of greenery, so if something like that does occur, you're able to address it quickly by throwing a new pile on the back. But ultimately, this is a smoke generator and how you use it. So this concludes our Rescue Essentials video. Please consult your field manual, also entitled Rescue Essentials, for all the techniques we've discussed in this video, as well as many others that will get you dialed in to how search and rescue operations work for you and how you may also assist them in your survival endeavors.